Hi, I'm Ray McCaig and welcome to my new YouTube channel, Map Tiler. Please bear with me as I'm new to all this making videos malarkey. So, without further ado, Map Tiler is a website I've created that helps you create maps easier than ever before. It guides you through the first few steps of the map creation process. These steps are location selection, deciding what level of detail you want to include in your maps, downloading all the tiles necessary to create your maps on a laser cutter, and finally it provides a Photoshop plugin that stitches your tiles back together into a single image. This is going to be split over two videos. The first taking you through the map creation process and all the options that are available to you whilst doing that, and the second will take you from downloading your map tiles to creating your images that can then be used with further processing such as converting to SVG and sending to your laser cutter. So the first step really with Map Tiler is to register for an account, and you can do that really easily. It's free. You click this login register button at the top here and register for an account, and essentially it asks you for your name, your email address and your password, and you hit register. What you'll get then is an email asking you to confirm your email address, and once you've done that you'll be able to come back into the website and pop in your email address and password and be able to log into the site itself. The first thing you're presented with is a fairly simple UI. It's dominated by the map, initially focused on Glasgow, but you can choose wherever you want to go to next. So if I click on Aberdeen here, you may have guessed it already, but I'm in Scotland. So let's go to Aberdeen. So click on Aberdeen. It takes you there, and we'll zoom out a little bit because I'm thinking I'd like to, rather than just focus on the city centre, we'll create a map that encompasses the new bypass. Well, it's not really new now, it's a few years old now. So you drag a rectangle round about the entire area of the map that you want to include, and then you can click on this Design Map Tiles button at the bottom, and that takes you into the next phase of the project. By default, the map will be produced at a zoom level of 12. Incidentally, this is backed by Google Maps, and I'm using the Google Maps API to interact with and produce the maps that you're looking at here. So by default, the entire Aberdeen area can be covered by 4 tiles, and as you can see there is a level of overlap between the tiles themselves, and the idea behind the overlap is that it makes it much easier for you, if you're doing it manually, to align these tiles back together again in order to create a single image. Along the bottom of the tiles you'll find that Google puts some branding. So the horizontal ones you want a little bit extra just to cover that branding up, because it means it's less work for you when you're doing that stitching back together again, because you don't have to deal with the integration of that styling into the actual tiles themselves. The only tiles at the end of that process that are going to have any branding in it are on the bottom tiles, and these are easily removed by just cropping your image at the end of your once you've got them all stitched together. On here we have various options. We have an ability to style the various main features, I would say, of the map itself. What colour do you want the water to be? What colour do you want the land to be? Highways, arterial roads and side streets. These are the layers that the website supports at the moment. I do plan to add more in the near future, but these are the launch features. And the whole idea behind these is that by having a good contrast difference between, a white background, let's say, and the blue of the roads there, or the white and the green, then it makes it easier for your tools, whichever that is, to create your SVG files from the PNG files, which are what you would get when you stitch all this back together. So to change the watercolor, for example, you just come up here, click on Styles, click on Edit Color, and the UI disappears here and leaves you with just the map. And then what you can do is you can then go and pick another color for your map, for your water in this case. Or if you want your highways to be a different color, let's say you want these to be, I don't know, red perhaps, bring it over to red, and then all your highways are now in a red color, and so on and so forth for all of the different areas. Your land, for instance, you might say, okay, I quite fancy this green, so that's not very nice green, is it? So, you know, something pale can look quite nice. But you know, the whole idea behind this is that you give yourself a good chance of being able to extract the detail when you convert to SVG. The other areas here are to do with level of detail and fine-tuning these tiles. So for instance, if zoom level 12 doesn't give you enough detail on your map, then you have the ability to include side streets here as a separate area. Now, because this is now going to be at zoom level 15, which gives you the level of detail that you need for including all of the side streets, what the consequence of that is obviously is that to cover the same area you need more tiles because you're zoomed in further. Again, you can look at the overlaps of the tiles themselves. You can tune that by either increasing the amount of overlaps. See, these are getting bigger here on the latitude, or decrease the amount of overlap. You don't want to be in this position here where you have a gap that is excluding any detail when you output your map tiles. So always have a bit of a overlap. The other things you can do here is, at the moment we're still outputting everything as all the detail on tiles, on the one tile, but what you can do to make the map creation process even easier is to separate these out into separate layers. As you can see here, there are the layers listed: the water layer, highways layer, arterial roads, and side streets. And you can choose which layer you want to edit. If I zoom out a little bit here, you can switch between the different layers. You can see the roads here, your arterial roads, and your side street layers. Obviously there's a lot more detail in them, and to properly manage these you probably need to be at zoom level 15 to do so. Now let's jump back to the water layer just now, and I'll show you some neat editing tools that we've got in here. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you're getting a set of tiles down per layer when you've got output features in a separate layer, and you've got a certain number of columns and a certain number of rows that make up that grid of tiles. And at the bottom here you can see that currently, because we've got all of these layers turned on, including side streets, there's 432 tiles in total, and you can see by hovering over this info icon here how those tiles are distributed amongst the layers, and a cost of downloading those 432 tiles. And incidentally, I should probably mention that at the moment there is a 5p UK money, 5p per tile as payment for the system. Now let me show you how you can exclude tiles that you don't actually need to download, right? So for instance, these water layer tiles here, right, there's never going to be any roads on these tiles. They're blank, no detail, so the best thing to do here is to not actually download them, which means you're not paying for them. So to do that, you just click the tile. right? So that's those 3 tiles excluded from being downloaded. And we'll do the same here, and we can zoom in here. You can see that there's some detail here, and so we want to retain this tile here. Now, one other thing I should mention here, I've selected these 5 tiles, and if I go to the highways layer, these tiles are gone, right? So these were only affecting the water layer. So what we can do here, let me undo what I did, and I'm going to turn on this apply changes to all layers switch. And against all the importance that kind of areas, there's plenty of help and description about what the actual option does. And you can see there's a lot of text against all of this. It gives you a lot of help on these things. So what we're going to do here is, that means when this feature is turned on, apply changes to all layers, what that means is that when I tick a box, that same box on all the layers is also turned off. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to repeat the process, right? So I'll turn it off just now. We also have another feature I should mention while we're doing this, is that you can press, I'll do it here, you can press to turn off, and then if you go somewhere else, like here, if you press the shift key, whatever state that first tile is in, it will be applied to all of the tiles in that grid between the 2 points. So that's a very fast way of modifying your tiles. So let's undo that. So I'm going to just use this fast method here, do that, and that one's fine. So that's all we can really take out here. Now, depending on what you want to do here, as you can see, there's lots of streams and burns and probably stuff you don't want output on your map. What you can do is you can exclude the majority of that here, as long as you don't touch things like the coastline, right? Because there's detail in that. Maybe the bigger sort of lochs or lakes, you want to retain that information, including rivers. But everything else is probably up for debate whether you need it or not. And then once you've got your image assembled back together again, you can go about, and probably easier actually once you've converted it to SVG, is to remove all the remainder, like these ones here for instance, because we need to retain that map tile. But I'm just going to leave these together at the minute. So that's as much tiles as I can take out on the map, on the water layer. So if I switch to the highways layer now, you can see there's an awful lot more here that I can take out. So let's start at the top. So let's take those 2 out, that one out. We'll take these out, that out, probably that one, and that one. As you can see, it's really fast to modify your map. Probably that. Nice and quick. And as you can see, the number of tiles is coming down as you're doing this. So we're down to 356 tiles now. I don't see any others that I can remove here at the moment. They've all got detail in them of some sort. Oh, that one there. So we'll move on to the arterial roads there. So this is more like the sort of main thoroughways that people might use to get from A to B in a city. Whereas things like highways tends to be like bypasses and major motorways that go between major locations. So let's do the same here. Turn that one off, turn that one off, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. I think that one's okay. Yep, we'll go right there. And if it's right out on the extreme edges like this, it's likely you're probably going to crop this image anyway, so you might not need to include things like this where a little road's on the corner. So I would probably take that one out. If I was creating one of my maps, we'll take that one off, that one out. Oh, mouse slipped there. That one. And side streets. There's probably very little that you can remove here. Probably down in the corners where there's a lot less detail. That one's got some side street on it. You can just come up here, take those 2 out. that one, and that's probably all we can remove from this. So we're down to 327 tiles. Now, that's pretty much you done with the map creation process itself. There are other things you can do here as well. I'll cover these in a later video. I think probably rather than, in fact, what I can do is I can do that. I could do it, show you now. So if I don't want a layer to be included in the output, let's say I didn't want the arterial roads, so you can just turn it off, right? And that will exclude those tiles from being downloaded. The other thing we can do here is we could switch to that tile. Oh, that had the consequence of doing that. So if I just randomly tick on some of these boxes here, right? And I thought, oh, I wanted these same boxes to be excluded from side streets. Then what you can do is you can take whatever the current layer is, and you can copy that layer to another layer. So I'm going to copy arterial roads onto side streets. So if I click that copy, it confirms that that's been done here. And if I switch to side streets, you can see that the same tiles have been deselected. So if I just do that, turn that off, let's turn all of these tiles off again. Let's zoom in and let's just take out the tiles that we don't want. I think that covers it. And then that's your map pretty much designed. You've got all your layers all designed. Well, actually, I messed this one up, didn't I? So if I do that, do that, do that. As you can see, it's really quick to go and edit your maps. There, that'll do it. I think that one's okay as well. Take that one out. So the next step is really to simply add it to your basket. So you add the basket, you give your map a name, Aberdeen in this case, click OK, and your map's been added to your basket. And then up here we've got our basket now, it's got one item in it. You click on that, and you can then go and change location and do a different map. And once you're happy with the maps that you've created, you can go and pay, at the moment, by PayPal. I do plan to add in other payment methods as time goes on, but at the moment PayPal is all that's supported for taking payment of this. So I'm going to leave it there. Please subscribe to the account, and please do leave comments. Tell me what you think, and if you find it's going to be useful, let me know. And there's an area up here, community area, I'll cover that in the next video, that effectively lets you do things like request features, report problems, contact us, these kinds of details. And over time we're going to build out the feature set of this site to make it as useful as possible for you doing your map design, and for me doing map design, because primarily this was built for me initially, and I thought, well, actually this is great. It's a bit cruder than what this is now. This is a bit more functional, but incredibly useful, incredibly time saving. You know, the actual map creation process, I mean, this part here is kind of similar to something you would do in something like Snazzy Maps, for example, but as you'll see in a second, in the next video, the time that you save by using this is significant. Can you imagine, right, just as I'm waffling now, can you imagine 322 tiles that you needed to download from Snazzy Maps, as an example? Other map creation tools might be the same. Snazzy Maps, for example, has a limit of 10 downloads per day. That would take you a month to get this map data that you need to create this map at this level of detail. And as you will see, it will literally take you a minute, less than a minute sometimes, depending on the map size and the number of tiles to download. It literally is minutes, so potential months work of work here, down to a minute or two, to retrieve the tiles. But we're going to cover that level of excitement in the next video. So thank you for watching. If you've lasted this long, I appreciate the time you spent listening to me, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.